Business Takeout presents The Healthy Entrepreneur with Maxine Choy.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maxine Choy, and welcome to the Healthy Entrepreneur Show. Tonight, our special guest is Ann Marie Moulton. Ann Marie is an empowerment strategist and a personal coach, and I love how you explain yourself about why you do what you do. And I'll start off by saying that you care for the heart. Anne Marie
Right.
believes in being a guide to individuals as opposed to fixing them in order for them to live a healthy lifestyle. So I really like that. And I want to just welcome you, Anne Marie, to the show. And thank you so much for agreeing to come on here. And before we begin, I want to say this podcast is brought to you by Business Takeout. Business Takeout is a nonprofit social enterprise, and their mission is to increase Black wealth and empower Black entrepreneurs. Please be sure to follow Business Takeout on all of their social media handles. This is LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, just so that you can catch this podcast and others that they have here on the platform. Anne Marie, welcome. I know in the background we had some little minor technical
Technical
difficulties. That's why the show
difficulties.
is. Yes, I know. So welcome. How are you doing today?
I am well. Thanks for having me, Maxine. I really appreciate it. I'm doing well. Outside of that little fender bender, I'm all right. How you doing?
I know. You know what? I'm doing great. Thank you for asking. And it's so funny because the topic we're going to talk about tonight is instincts, right? Or sorry, intuition
Yeah,
and trusting them.
right.
And I want to say this is that I had an intuition today and I had this feeling that something may go wrong because remember, we wanted to do the show in person,
Always.
right?
Right.
And I thought, I, I thought something may happen, but I didn't want to jinx it, whatnot. I just followed, I just said, no, it's going to be okay. And sure enough, that's what happened. But, I think that that's what makes us maybe take another path another time or choose another direction so we avoid the things because we know in our hearts that it's possible that these things will happen, but then we just don't follow them. So we're going to get right into it, where we talk about intuition.
Right.
And you know someone has told me once before that they cannot stay in a room. If they walk into a room right away, they can say, I don't belong here or I can't stay here. And
Right.
it would be from just something like a vibe or something. And at a time, at that time, I was like, well, no, I don't get it because I'm a social butterfly. I walk into a room and I just want to make the best of it. I want to get in there.
Right.
I'm not looking for anything. I'm not looking for any cues. I'm not looking for anything that's going to disturb my peace. I'm just out to socialize and have a good time, meet people, and learn something from it. So I've been sort of like listening to people as they talk about intuition and how they're so in tune with it and how why it's important. And so of course I thought to talk to you about that because I know that you have a way of following your intuition and trusting your gut. So um, tell me a little bit about a story that may have led you to that path in following that.
Thank you for putting like some sort of color to it. Like it's funny how we're talking about intuition and we're tested at the same time.
Yes,
And isn't that
yes, we
how
are.
life is? Like it makes it even
Mhm.
much more real, right? That you're not just talking about something that you don't know or understand, because little did you know that at the end of the day, we were going to go through all these little glitches, but
Exactly.
intuitively, sometimes life has a way of, giving us that little glimpse of what is to come, right? Or sometimes we just bump right
Hmm.
into it, right? And that's the way it is. Talking
Exactly.
about intuition, it really is about your gut feeling. You never could put a spin on it. You really don't know what's happening. You just know that deep within you, there's this humph, there's this something, there's this little thing that is either speaking to you or giving you that sense of urgency within you that something is either not okay or something's about to happen. And it's not always a bad thing. Your intuition can actually guide you towards all things beautiful and good, but it can also
Absolutely. So it
guide
could be,
you. Yeah, it can also guide you away from that which is bad because it alerts you every time.
yes,
It's just that we don't
exactly.
listen.
It's so true. We don't listen. Um, you said that you said something. You said intuition is the ability. So sorry, tapping into your intuition, or even realizing when you know something is not right, and you don't quite know how to process it. Right? You said that it's the ability to understand something intuitively without the need for conscious reasoning. And I had to write that down. And I was like, wow, okay. So
Yes.
oftentimes, yeah, because I think that we have our intuition and we're wondering, oh my goodness, should I be like so conscious about it? Should I be thinking deep? Should I be analyzing this on a philosophical level or psychological level or scientific level? Because I used to think that people who had
Right.
intuition or instinct or telepathy or whatever the case may be, they were just more spiritually aligned or somehow, you know. So when you said that, can you just tell me a little bit about what you mean by understanding um, something intuitively rather than trying to be conscious about it? Like,
Right. So again, understanding something intuitively, it's that wisdom within you. It's that I know that I know that I know without being conscious. Because the reason for your intuition is because you're not conscious about it, right? Most of our lives is lived out of the subconscious. We are creatures of habit. Like you and I talk about this, we live our lives on autopilot. And it's a gradual thing that we go to do the same thing, to always want to walk the same path. You understand? But our intuition is not guided by that which we understand. It's always deeper than that. It's that which you oftentimes don't understand. You don't automatically get it. So it's really not about the conscious thinking. It's more etched in the subconscious, the things that you really don't have a hang on. Like, for example, oftentimes I use relationship all the time, right? Because that's the one
mhm.
thing that we oftentimes struggle with.
Yes.
But that's the reason why we're all here is to have relationship. And a lot of times that people who've been hurt in relationship, like you'll hear somebody go, how come you didn't see that coming? Or, or how
Mhm.
did you know that was happening? Right? It's like, well, I didn't really know. It's just that I felt something was off. I felt something wasn't right. And most of the times,
Mhm.
like I said, we ignore it. And
Yes,
the red flags are
we
always
ignore it.
there. And that's what our intuition is doing, is guiding us by showing us these
Yes.
things that we don't understand and it's not easy to grasp. Because we're so conditioned to be a certain way and we're creatures of habit, we oftentimes excuse that. It takes a higher level of thinking and a level of maturity, emotional maturity, to understand that no, I am not just thinking this because I am crazy. I am not just feeling this because I am emotional. Something is going on. And that's when you need to
Right.
lean in and learn deeply what is going
Mhm.
on within you.
You know, you're right. When you said something about ignoring the signs, and sometimes we ignore the negative emotions attached to it. We know in our hearts that this is not something that is for us, we tend to feel that there's something going on with that person. You're trusting that person with something, and they're not coming up the way that you expected them, and you know in your heart, but you just ignore it because. Um, there's a it's almost like being afraid of the truth being revealed because you have to now deal with it, and how do you deal
Mm-hmm.
with it? And sometimes that can be coming from a place of fear or even ego, because let's say a relationship, for instance. I was listening to somebody talk about meeting up with somebody and seeing some signs in that person, lack of integrity, you know, just doing some things that she knew intuitively that there was something wrong here. But because
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to trust him and trust herself and allow things to happen, because sometimes things will work out, and she didn't follow her intuition, and it turned out that it was exactly what she didn't want to happen. The result was that the person was deceptive to her, and the person did end up
Wow.
hurting her. So
Mm-hmm.
and then in hindsight now, she's like, I should have followed my intuition. Now if somebody now is always going to be, so in tune with that, like so in tune with your intuition, like every little thing, well, you know what, I don't know, I don't really like the vibe in that room, or the way that person said hello to me today, or first meeting somebody. If you're always going to be like that, how do you what do you say to a person who's always on guard? I That's probably the best way I can describe it.
Well, you don't want to walk around
Hmm.
like you have to live your life, right? We don't live in a bubble, so we have to live our lives. What we don't want to do is live lives oblivious to the realities, right? Like these things do happen. Like there are deceptive people out there, and not everyone has good intention. And so it would help if we learn how to navigate our way through this maze of life. And even though we want to trust people, the reality is you can't trust everyone. And for those people that you don't know very well, that you have to learn to navigate yourself around, you have to just rely on your gut. And the way to
Hmm.
do that is to try to remain silent. Try to be still. You'll be surprised to know all the answers that you could get if you just learn to be quiet. You understand?
Yeah.
It's the noise and it's all the chattering sometimes why we miss it. Because people who are deceptive, they know how to deceive, right? And it's not something that you automatically will pick up on, but you have to learn how to be still, and you have to listen to the inner voice. You have to listen to your gut. It's always
Hmm.
99.9% right. It's just because we don't listen. Like I said, I can't echo that enough. Your intuition is a gift, it's your guide, it's your inner compass. You've been given, woman by nature, we were created with this. Every woman on this planet Earth was birthed with intuition. Not every woman exercise it. It takes a certain level,
Right.
again, like I said, of wisdom and maturity to be able to tap into that. But one place to start is when
Absolutely.
things come up, don't ignore them.
Mm, that's true. You're right. Don't ignore them, but it is your guide, like you say. Have your intuition is your guide. There were some comments before. Can I just read one of them from Destiny Services? Good evening, ladies. Good evening, Destiny. Thank you
Good
so much for
evening,
joining.
Destiny.
And Steve, is it Steve Hopkins says, I've been there before, not following my gut. Oh, yes. I mean, you can tell me if you want to share, Steve, what your experience was, would be great. And Banky Benjamin says, how do I know if my intuition, sorry, if it's my intuition or overthinking? That's a very good question, because
That's a
that's
very
been,
good question.
yeah, that
Yeah.
that has been me. That just overthinking things. Nadej says,
Yeah.
yes, 100%. You must be still sometimes and listen. My intuition has saved me many times. Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Okay. So Steve says, what about? I'm gonna put my glasses on because I can't see. Nobody knows I wear glasses. Okay. It says,
I do wear mine too. I don't even know where I put mine,
I know.
Maxine.
So hopefully I can still see. Okay, so what about when they are deceptive to protect themselves versus intentionally hurting you? Do we try to understand that or view them as the same way? Oh my goodness. You know, I can say that hurt people,
Hurt people
hurt
hurt
people,
people. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. And I
I
like
think that
I like that question that I'm sorry, Maxine, that's I think it's Steve.
that's okay.
Yeah, he said something about like, um, I'm not too sure if I get it, but like a person's not trying to, what if the person wasn't trying to be deceptive? You might have to say it again, but it was more like it was not intentional. It probably came across that way. But my take is that truth is truth, and cannot be argued otherwise. You can only argue the
Mm-hmm.
lie, right? But truth is truth. It's
Mm-hmm.
etched into
Yes.
everything else but the truth. It is the truth. You cannot argue away the truth. You cannot lie away the truth. When someone deceive you, it didn't just happen. It's almost like you planned it, right? Deception is something that didn't just appear from out of nowhere. It's someone's choice and decision that was made to lead that person down a different path than what they were original made to believe, right? And so I want to echo that even though the intention might not be, it might not have been to deceive, it ultimately end up in deception because your behavior is always being played out based on your heart's disposition. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Out of what
Yes.
you think, out of the choices you make is going to come your outcome, right? Is going to become your outcome. So if your intention is for good, then only good is going to come out. A good tree can't bear bad fruit, and a bad tree can't bear good fruit, right? And so if the
Right.
intent to deceive is what you had intended to do, then it's going to show up that way. The only thing that could
Right.
stop that deception is a wise person who is sound within themselves and is holding to their intuition and not ignoring the voice.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. You heard that, Steve. So Banky's question, I really like this one. How do you know if it's not intuition or overthinking? And I know for sure that I've been there where I just
Mhm.
overthink things, not really realizing that what could be could be that. It could be that I'm overthinking. So how would you answer that one?
Overthinking is a thing. It is real. We oftentimes mull over things longer than we should. And that's because of the fact that, thoughts are always coming against our mind. We're bombarded by thoughts every day, thousands of thoughts, and it's learning. It is about emotional discipline, right? Like, and that's where the struggle is, that we're not disciplined in our emotions. Like, and so all these thoughts are coming, and instead of really taking them in, because there's nothing wrong with the thoughts, it's what you do with them when they come. I believe that you can always change your thought. You can always change your mind, just like you switch your television from one station to the next. When the thoughts come, you have the power to change your mind about it. You have the power to release that, to send that back, to excuse that, to tell that that's a lie. You have to know that within you, you already possess everything you need to not only to create the life you want on the outside. You have everything within you, the power within you to overcome anything
Right.
if you just learn to lean into the truth of who you are. And again, listen to that still small voice. It's there for a reason.
Hmm. I'm just going to piggyback on what you're talking about with regard to Banky's question. So, how do you know if it's not intuition versus overthinking? And I think that when someone always has intuition, so you're always like saying,
Mhm.
I'm not sure I'm going to go this way because I don't trust that person. It's your gut is always like telling you something, and you're always listening to it, and then you're always like going with your gut. And sometimes I think Banky has a great question. Sometimes you can be overthinking it. I believe that. And it may be just really nothing. It's just you being so super paranoid about everything that everything becomes a trigger for you, or everything seems fishy, right? But
Right,
that's
right.
interesting though. Like, how would you ever know if you're always going to be thinking that way? But I think that if you are, and this is where spirituality comes in. I think Nadej asked a question about um, spirituality and intuition. Yeah, what is the link between spirituality and intuition? So, great question, Nadej. So, here's where I'm getting at.
There is a
Your
huge link.
Yeah, I think so, because if your
Hmm.
intuition is always guiding you to something that you don't feel is right, and it's your gut,
Hmm.
then you're spiritually connected. You're spiritually aligned with your feelings, your thoughts, and what you want around you. And your gut has the most, like I was reading something about your gut. And I have to share that with you
Hmm.
guys. I really do, because I thought it was very interesting. Because we all know the stomach, the key, the way to your heart is your stomach, right? So
Right.
and I mean
For
that's
most people.
literally like the well, because everything you hold in your stomach. When you have, if you're a
Hmm.
mom and things happen to your kids, you hold your stomach. If you have
Right.
anything that frightens you, you hold your stomach and your chest, but you hold your stomach because you feel
Life is in
most
the
of the
stomach,
sensations.
and I love
Life
it
is in
how
the
you point
stomach.
that out, Maxine. Life is in the stomach,
It's in the
and
stomach. And I'm going to
you
read this.
feel the anxiety there.
Yes. Sorry, I have to read that because I thought it was just so. Okay, so here it says, trusting your gut. And it says, the gut is lined with a network of neurons and is often referred to as the second brain.
Hmm.
It's known as the, and, sorry, I can't even read. It is known as the enteric nervous system, and it contains about 100 million neurons, which is more than the spinal cord and the peripheral nervous system, but less than the brain. So this is why we feel that feeling in our gut where we have to trust it. And the
Hmm.
overthinking and then the spirituality part of it, I think that there's a link between that. And nowadays, a lot of
Absolutely,
people are,
absolutely,
yeah, a lot of people
absolutely.
are guided by that
Even the
and
very
trusting
thoughts
their
that
gut
we
and
think,
following.
right,
Mm-hmm,
Maxine?
mm-hmm.
Even the very thoughts that we think, it's just a matter of
Absolutely.
rewiring our neural pathway, like the neural pathway, right? Like there is an actual pathway there in our brain, right? And there's traffic
Yes.
going on up there. The overthinking is one way of how to describe the traffic that is going on up there. There's a lot of chaos that goes on up there. Sometimes it's not always peaceful and it's not always serene, and that's why it's
Yes,
important
exactly.
that, yeah, and that's why it's important that we listen to the gut, because life is in the gut, right? I mean, it's not in
It
the
is.
back of your head and it's not under your feet. It really is in your gut. Sickness, it starts in your gut. Joy starts in your gut. Anxiety starts in your gut. Peace starts
Yeah.
in your gut. And that's why you
Butterflies
have
in the
to
stomach,
listen
right?
to it.
Yeah,
Right. And that's why you have
absolutely.
to listen to it, right? It's important that you get to know you. And the only way to get to know you is spend time within you. We spend too much time outside of ourselves that we forget that the beauty of who you are lives on the inside.
Hmm. So, Anne Marie, what have you had a situation where you felt that you should have followed your gut?
Oh,
Can you tell
too
us
many
about it?
times. Too
Tell
many
us one
times.
memorable one.
Like, you know, I remember I remember an almost near accident. I have a daughter, by the way, and I remember we went on vacation. We were in Philadelphia with family because I have families in Philadelphia, and she was much younger. And I remember particularly that day, my family lived in this neighborhood, and it's very family oriented. So my daughter decided to go bike riding and with all the kids, and that was okay. But just before she left, it's like my gut, my intuition said, "Tell her not to go." And I remember I turned around when she came and she said, "Can I go bike riding?" And I said, "No, don't go." And it's not because I didn't want her to hang around her cousins. Like we're there. I'm excited to be around family. But this feeling, I got this feeling within me. I can't explain it. It just it's the worst feeling ever. And I remember I said to her, "No, no, no, don't go. You're not. I won't give you the permission to go." Anyways, I just went back to having conversation with family and completely ignored her because I was done with that. Like, she actually went. She actually
Oh,
went with an adult in the family, And I guess they've decided to go, didn't think it was a big deal because she would have been with an adult, and that's okay. It's the fact that she still went riding and pretty much almost got hit by a car. Like
I do.
literally, the car
Within
hit the
seconds.
bike, everything. Thank God, like nothing happened. And I remember when she came back, and I thought, I told you. Like
Hmm.
I told you. I couldn't tell her exactly what was going to happen, how it was going to happen. I
You just
just
had,
knew.
so you,
I
yeah,
just
you
had a
just, it's
gut
something,
feeling.
something didn't feel
Right.
right with
Something
her
didn't feel
going, and
right
you just knew.
with
Yeah, it's
her
a mother's
going.
instinct.
Yeah.
It's a mother's
It's a mother's
instinct, and
instinct. It's a mother's
yeah,
wisdom.
and absolutely. And I mean, I'll share one with you where the intuition was, so yours was a premonition or intuition or something, and you followed your
Hmm.
gut, but she went ahead anyway, and something almost happened. So that's confirmation for you that I'm always going to follow my gut. So that alone in itself will always make you to say, the minute I feel something, I'm going to
Hmm.
follow it, right? Because it's
Hmm.
like a confirmation for you that your gut instincts is always going to be come
It's
true for
always
you. So
right. It's
right.
always
So for
right.
me now, my story is that when my daughter was younger, I was, I don't know what it was. So we're going to go back to where Banky was saying overthinking. So I had this thing, I would not let her out of my sight. Like, I live in Durham, right? I would not let
Right.
anyone take her anywhere in a vehicle past, oh my gosh, Scarborough or Mississauga. I just
Hmm.
had this thing in me where I just felt that somehow something could happen. And I think that was overthinking, because each time when I didn't allow her to go with the group of people, they came back safe, they were fine, but my gut, my instincts, my overthinking was always there. So maybe, I just, that's one of my, my stories. And then
Hmm.
another time I was on a vacation with my mom, and I remember wanting to go from one place to another, and we were getting a ride with a family friend of some sort, and I was like, come on, let's go. And my mom's like, why do we have to go? And I'm like, I don't know, I just want to go. Like, I've never been to that place before, I want to go. So I was adamant, and I wanted to go, and I I just wanted to go. I had
Right.
no other reasoning. I just wanted to go. I wanted to see the place. It
Right.
was beautiful. And then for like a split moment before we left, it was getting late. And for a split second, I was like, you know what? Maybe we don't have to go. Right.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and then I said, but why? And I thought, oh, you know what? No, you only live once, just go. And sure
Yeah. Let's
enough,
do
we went.
this.
But while we're let's do this, right? So, but inside, I had this feeling inside of me that wasn't right. And on our way there, about an hour in, the car we're in spun out into the road and spun around,
Ooh.
and all we saw was a bus
Wow.
coming at us. But luckily, by the
Oh.
grace of God, the bus went the other way. And this was in Jamaica. You know those
See how
mountains?
profound that was?
Yes. You know those roads that go around?
Yeah, those
Yeah.
winding roads.
Hmm. And I tell you,
Yeah.
from that day on, I started to say to myself, the next time I feel any hesitation, any doubt, I'm going to follow them, because, like I said, nothing happened, but I felt bad for my mom to be in this position where I was forcing her to do something that she didn't feel right, and I knew I didn't. I knew, right?
Hmm.
But anyway, so that's one of my examples of not following my gut instincts, and
Hmm.
something happened, and or almost happened. But it's like,
Hmm.
it's one of
We
those
all
things
have
where it either
stories,
wakes you
right?
up. Yeah, and
We
there's
all have
I've got plenty of
stories.
stories
Like
where, yep,
that
I've got
guy
plenty
that
of
your
stories.
intuition told you don't go anywhere close to him, and you didn't listen,
Exactly,
and you get the
exactly.
heartbreak.
Or
Or that friend that your intuition warned you about that wasn't really all that she's made herself out to be. And you know lately, after you felt disturbed by the fact that you didn't listen, the betrayal, like, I mean, Steve talked about deception. people pulling the
Yeah.
wool over your eye and you ignoring the red
Mm-hmm.
flags and not listening to
Ignoring the
your
red
gut.
flags. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Your
Mm-hmm.
help, your gut is your help. It's your aid.
It's your
It's your
help.
guide. It's your
Exactly.
compass. You've got
Absolutely.
to listen. We've got to learn to listen more to it.
Absolutely. There was another comment by Steve. I just want to get it before we wrap up. If the producers can put on for me, please. Steve says, intuition versus protecting oneself from hurt of the past this this fine line. You know what? That's hurt. Like you're just hurt, right? I think. Sorry, does intuition show up in a dream? You know what? That was actually mentioned, but let me go back to Steve for a second. In terms of that, I'm not an expert, so I can't say that. Um, if I have to read this question again, I can't say that I can give you proper advice as to okay, intuition versus protecting oneself from hurt of the past. Is this a fine line? Okay, Anne Marie, do you want to go with that? Because
What was
I
the
think that
question,
it's
Maxine?
so
What
basically
was that
he's
question
saying
again?
versus protecting oneself from hurt. So I think that
There
in
is a
this case,
difference. There is a
well,
difference with
there's a
that.
difference.
Hmm.
However, I think that what he's trying to say
But
is
there's a
you meet
purpose for it.
somebody, right? You meet somebody, you have some intuition about them. You think they seem a certain way. So then instinctively you want to protect yourself from being hurt or deceived or whatever the case may be. In terms of the fine line, well, the fine line I would think would be that just be careful that you're not um, jumping to conclusion, maybe giving the person a chance per se, or giving the relationship a chance. Maybe test your vulnerability. Maybe even just share with them how you feel, uh, so that they know where you come from, rather than protecting yourself and
Hmm.
potentially denying yourself from a beautiful relationship.
Right. Because you know what? In protecting ourselves, we put up barriers, right? We have
Yeah,
these
yeah, for sure.
barriers up and we literally caved ourselves in because
Yes,
we don't want to
exactly.
experience that hurt or that deception anymore. But the whole beauty of love and the whole beauty of life is to learn to let go, right? Like I do believe that there are good people in this world, and just because you've had one or two bad experiences doesn't simply mean that your third or your fourth is going to be bad. And for someone who overthinks, and for someone who possibly at some point in my life like would have set up boundaries or set up gates or whatever it is, walls, to keep people out, like I learned that, you know what, you've got to learn how to just pull those things down. And you don't do it for everyone,
Right.
but we've got to create
No.
more space to allow people to come in, because a lot of times what we're doing is shutting people out because we're so locked into an experience, right? Which is oftentimes our past. And if we're able to go to the past as reference and not stay there, then we won't have to build all these walls because we need to climb over them. Like there's so much beauty to
Yep.
life and so much more life to live. We can't allow one experience or one bad person to ruin it for the next good thing that is around the corner.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. And Steve, if always trying to protect yourself from somebody, maybe it's a matter of changing the people who you meet, surrounding yourself with
Hmm.
different people who understand you more, and being able to even be vulnerable at times. Let them know how
Right.
you feel, right? Um, so Banky says, I think overthinking comes from places that aren't healed. Oh my goodness, 100%,
Absolutely.
a
Absolutely,
hundred percent.
Banky. I I
Mm-hmm.
I I totally hear what she's saying. And it's fear, right? It's like we're so
It's fear.
clammed up from past hurt, and we're
Mm-hmm.
so
From past
clammed up
hurt.
from
Yeah.
the rejection, the abandonment, the
Mm-hmm.
issues, right? The
The
pain, really,
issues.
all of that equals pain. And we don't want to really let go. Like even though the pain is uncomfortable, it's surprising to me that we stay in that place of discomfort, even though it's
Yeah.
painful. people stay in that place because it's the one thing you know. But you know, pain pain is an indicator that something is wrong. It's that simple. If pain is anything, it's just an indication that something is wrong
Something is
somewhere.
wrong.
And if you're
Yes,
feeling pain,
exactly.
it's not for you to hold it because it's going to imprison you and it's going to show up in all kinds of ways, in sickness, in
Yes.
anxiety, in more
Mm-hmm.
fear, in putting up more walls, and in overthinking and all that. We have to learn to
For
face our
sure.
fear because really at the end of the day, it's false evidence appearing real. It's not what
Exactly.
we think it is, it's what we believe it to be. And again, we have to rewire the neural pathway and we have to change our thought about what we're thinking and create a new path for ourselves.
Wow, this is great. I love this whole thing because being hurt in the past or
Mhm.
afraid to take chances, you can actually be that could be what you're utilizing as opposed to it being your intuition, the fear of,
Yes,
getting hurt. So you just
good
automatically say,
insight.
I don't have a good feeling about this. I don't think I'm going to get into it,
Yeah.
whatever. One more comment before we wrap up. It was from Nadej. I wouldn't want to read it. I think she had a question. If you can put it back up for me, please. Um, does intuition show up in dream? Um, Apparently it does, and I did actually read something else about it. If you bear with me, I can. Well, no, it's gone, but it does, and I think something to do with um, take like before you go to bed, think about what it is that's on your heart, um, and try to process it. And somehow they say it shows up in your dream somehow, and whether it's a premonition or I don't know what it is, but like
It's
if
wisdom.
you're a believer, it's wisdom. Yeah, if you're a
It's
believer in
wisdom.
dreams, sometimes things it shows up in your dreams, right? Yeah.
It shows up
So
everywhere, Maxine.
it's
So it, it
yes,
it's going to show up while you're at work. It's going to show up while you're in the shower. It's going to show up while you're driving. It's going to show up while you're sleeping. It's your guide, and it's telling you something. Your dreams are nothing else other than, again,
right,
an acting out of your intuitive guide. Like within your dreams there are
right.
messages,
Within your
within
dream.
your dreams there
Exactly.
are answers, within your dreams there are situations that is alerting you to the reality of this thing called life that we live in. But again, like
Mm-hmm.
if we don't slow down even within our own dreams, like we will miss it. You'll just wake up, oh, I had a dream, or that was a bad dream. But what did you remember about your dream? Can you remember anything significant about your dream? Because that one situation could be telling you something. It could be telling you
Mm-hmm.
something that, all along you were right, and now it's showing up in your
Exactly.
dream.
Exactly. Um, for the audience who's watching, I want to just thank you. And please be sure to follow and like and share this video as well on every platform, wherever you are in this country or around the world. Anne Marie, tell us where everyone can reach you if they'd like to get in touch with you, talk more about this or anything else.
I'm on IG as everyone else. Like, to look for me at Jill Anne Marie. I am here on Facebook. Like, I have two Facebook page. Like, most of the times you probably see me on my personal page, but I have my Empowerment Strategist page, which most of the times I don't go to that page because I'm working on my website. So I don't do too much work there for now. But you can see those two spaces, and I'm starting to do some stuff over YouTube. So I'll be uploading videos over YouTube in a little bit. But look out for some interesting things coming from me. Like, I'm about to launch something like super exciting. So for those of you
Nice.
who are my people on on social media, like, look out, coming with something. But this conversation has been enlightening for me, and I'm glad for those of you who have joined. This is really, really important. If it's one thing I could tell anyone out there who's listening, is that start listening to your gut more, start listening to that inner voice, stop ignoring the red flags. trust that you have everything within you to guide you in this thing called life. And the more you stay in silence,
Absolutely.
the more you get to know who you are and listen to yourself, the better outcome you will get.
Oh my goodness, I agree with that. Thank you so much, Anne Marie, for sharing that with us and telling us about your story as well, and just sharing your thoughts about intuition. And before we go, I'll leave the audience with this. And I read this and I thought I need to share this because it might resonate with you. So even though our intuition is powerful, you don't always have to follow it blindly, right? So it's about using your common sense as well, and
Mm,
a balance of rationality, because sometimes we can be irrational. So, it's just a matter of being conscious of that. Like, how are you taking in things whenever you see it? Is it always me against them or them against me, right? And
right,
just keep in mind that there is your intuition versus logic. Um, and it can be conflicting at times where we don't think logically. We're just always thinking that someone's out to hurt me, this person is not honest, blah, 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 blah. But if we can step back and think logically about the situation and even how we are thinking, that may
right.
help you as well along the way. And just to keep those in mind when you reach that point where you're um, overthinking or trying to tap into your intuition and trying to find the answer within. So that's what I have to say for
That
tonight,
was really
guys.
good.
And thank you. I do appreciate you coming on. Like I said, really thank you so much for watching. And for the audience who's watching, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week. And in the meantime, stay well, everyone, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.